Dear viewers, this video presents valuable information and highlights the key points about the following topics. 1. General information about the Colosseum. 2. Building history. 3. Colosseum as a symbol. 4. Building description. 5. External section. 6. Internal section. 7. Origin of the name. 8. Colosseum as a symbol. 9. The Colosseum in literature and cinema. Colosseum. The Colosseum or the so-called Flavian Amphitheater, Amphitheatrum Flavium in Italian, Anfiteatro Flavio or Colosseo, is a giant Roman amphitheater located in the center of the city of Rome. It was built to the east of the Roman Forum. Its construction dates back to the 1st century Roman Empire between 70 and 72 AD under Emperor Flavio Vespasian, and was essentially completed in 80 during the reign of Titus. However, some modifications were added to it during the reign of Domitian. The largest amphitheater in the world was built of concrete and stones, and is considered the largest work built by the Roman Empire, as it is considered one of the greatest works of Roman architecture and engineering. The image of the Colosseum was printed on the 5-cent piece of the Italian edition. The Colosseum was called the Flavian Amphitheater in honor of the dynasty of the Flavian emperors that established this amphitheater. It was later called the Colosseum in reference to the huge statue of Nero that was located next to it, called Colossus in Latin, after the Colossus of Rhodes. This name was transferred from Latin to various European languages during the Middle Ages, and from there, the Arabic language arrived during the period of adoption and transfer of Western literature and books. In the late 19th century, and during the period of British and French occupations and mandates over various Arab countries, the arena was used for gladiator combat and mass competitions such as mock naval battles, animal hunting executions, and reenactments of famous battles and dramas that were based on classical mythology, with a capacity ranging from between 50,000 and 80,000 people in 8 row stands. At the front, near the sand arena, were seated the emperor and the senators, while at the top were the lower classes of society. Its opening ceremony lasted 100 days, as the entire Roman people participated in that event. And during that celebration, dozens of gladiators and monsters died, who sacrificed their lives for the enjoyment and entertainment of the people. And the sailors helped them in erecting the tents that protected the spectators from the rays. Strong sun. The building ceased to be used for mass performances in the early Middle Ages. Later, it was reused as a shelter, a factory, the seat of the religious order, a castle, and a quarry. Abundant building materials were extracted to build other buildings from under its ruins. But it was later turned into a Christian shrine, in honor of the prisoners who were killed during the early years of Christianity. This measure helped protect the building from looting and ensure its maintenance. The Colosseum stands as a monument to the genius of Roman engineering, in addition to being considered a powerful tool in crowd control, with a dazzling display that was in keeping with Rome's world domination. Colosseum as a symbol. The Colosseum is Rome's greatest edifice and a witness to history and legend, as it represents a symbol of one of the most powerful empires in history, against the backdrop of the monuments, legends, and narratives left by the Roman civilization, ranging from truth to mirage. The construction of the Colosseum goes back to the desire of Emperor Flavio Vespasian, on the one hand, to erase the memory of his predecessor, Emperor Nero, the arsonist of Rome. On the other hand, it symbolizes the greatness of the Roman Empire at one of its most prosperous eras. In order to emulate the great civilizations and states that were subject to the sovereignty of Rome, the word Colosseum, which has been associated with Vespasian's theater for more than 19 centuries, denotes a massive mass in size and structure. Its origin goes back to the statue of the Greek sun god Apollo. Nero, obsessed with greatness and the tyranny of Rome, wanted to imitate the god Apollo when he erected a huge statue of himself, which the Romans called the Colosseum, at the entrance to his marvelous palace. Domus Aurea, which means the golden house, which was destroyed by the people of Rome. Out of resentment against their emperor Nero, and in retaliation for his famous act. A group of historians believe that Vespasian established his theater, which was completed by his son Titus in the year 80, over the huge artificial lake that Nero dug in front of his imaginary palace in front of his giant statue, the Colosseum, out of a desire to erase the traces of his ill-remembered predecessor. This building is famous for the complete compatibility of its decorative elements, and bears witness to the splendor of ancient Roman architectural arts, with a circumference of up to 52 meters. It is in the form of an amphitheater and a semicircular theater that has been in place for 2,000 years. This architectural edifice came as a symbol of the most important symbols of Roman civilization, which devoured symbols that preceded Roman civilization. Building history. Since the beginning of construction until the present time, the building has gone through many developments in terms of use, and also the architectural form of the building, which was demonstrated by Roman engineering. The method of its construction opened the way to the use of building materials that are still used to this day. It was believed that the square was covered by a celestial dome. Big. The building is the most famous example of Roman theaters of this type, which are characterized by being completely circular or completely oval. The building remained in use for nearly 500 years, in the areas of activities, festivals, singing, music, trick or treating, chants, and the distribution of food and water. The last games held in it were recorded in the 6th century, after the traditional date that is believed to be the fall of the Western Roman Empire. In the year 476, when the Colosseum fights were prohibited permanently. Since then, the building has been used for a variety of purposes, ranging from a Christian church to a cemetery for the dead. During the Middle Ages, the building was subjected to major damage as a result of an earthquake that led to the collapse of a large part of its outer wall. In the 18th century, the Catholic Church claimed that the first Christians in Rome were tortured and killed inside the Colosseum, which gave the building a religious significance that contributed to its preservation. Currently, the Colosseum has become the most attractive monument in Rome for tourists, as it has transformed from a symbol of death into a symbol and icon, used by advocates of abolishing the death penalty in the world in their demonstrations and protests. The lighting of the Colosseum is also changed from white to yellow during any execution around the world. The Roman consul Titus Statlius Taurus built an amphitheater in 29 BC. This building was the largest of its kind in the city, with all the necessary facilities. This building was destroyed in the Great Fire of Rome, which destroyed about 2/3 of the city of Rome in the year 64 AD, while the need arose for another amphitheater for the Roman city. The story of the Colosseum's creation was as bloody and violent as the events that took place within it, as Rome's control extended the mature heart of the Roman Empire from Britain in the west to Syria in the east, making it the largest empire in the ancient world. The capital was crowded with more than 1 million people, and this crowd of people was upset and volatile. And to calm them, the emperor built the greatest amphitheater in the world. The story of the construction of the Colosseum dates back 2,000 years, to the 68th century BC. The ill-fated and cruel tyrant Nero ruled Rome and its empire. Against the advice of the Senate, Nero imposed heavy taxes, but his tax system angered the masses throughout the empire. Building description. The Colosseum stands on a platform raised above the surrounding limestone area. The foundation of the building is made up of a large number of tough stone, 13 meters thick, and is described on the outside of the building by a brick wall. The structure's supports consist of limestone column blocks, connected by metal rods. The building's circumference is in the form of a circle, reaching 52 meters, its length is 527 meters, and its height is 50 meters. Limestone was used in it. It is a 4-story building. The first floor is supported by Doric-type columns, the simplest and oldest type of columns in Greek architecture. followed by a floor supported by Ionic-type columns or pins, named after the Greek city of Ionia, then followed by the third floor, which is supported by columns. It is of the Corinthian type, named after the city of Corinth, which was famous in ancient times for its luxury. The capitals of its columns are decorated with decorations resembling tree leaves, and it has 80 entrances, similar to the sports stadiums of modern cities. As for the inner part, it consists of 3 sections: the circular stage, the competition venue, the high platform, and the seats for the spectators, which are divided according to their classes of supervision, members of the Senate, and the rest of the people. The importance of this place comes from helping kings, over time, control their people by providing bread for food and sports for entertainment. External section. Unlike earlier Greek theaters built into mountainsides, the Colosseum is a completely self-contained structure. Its exterior design and interior architecture are derived from 2 ancient Roman theaters. The outer wall is 48 meters high and 545 meters in circumference. Its central courtyard is oval in shape, 87 meters to 87 feet long and 55 meters 180 feet wide, and is surrounded by an outer wall 5 meters high. The building has 80 entrances, similar to modern city sports stadiums, as it contains many innovative designs and effective solutions to current problems, with a pink phosphorescent color. The outer wall required an estimated 100,000 cubic meters of travertine stone, which were bound together by 300 tons of iron clamps. However, it has suffered severe damage over the centuries, with large parts of it collapsing as a result of successive earthquakes. The northern side of the outer wall is still standing. The distinctive triangular brick pegs at the end of each row are modern additions, built in the early 19th century to support the wall. The outer part of the Colosseum that remains today is actually the original inner wall. As for the remaining part of the building, from the facade of the outer wall, it includes 3 floors of colonnaded porticos, topped by a platform which stands on the attic. These floors are framed by half columns of the Tuscan, Ionic, and Corinthian order, while the capitals of its columns are decorated with decorations resembling tree leaves of the Corinthian order, with the arches of both the colonnades on the second and third floors framed by statues, perhaps serving as a kind of homage to the gods and other characters from Greco-Roman mythology, while the fourth floor forms the solid wall, supported by colonnades supported by arches. 40 small square windows were opened in several parts of the dividing wall, one between every 2 stone panels, with 3 prominent shelves placed above the level of the windows for each part, which were formed from the wooden poles that were used for opening and closing, with the fleet sailors installing tents that protected spectators from the strong sunlight. Internal section. In ancient times, the Colosseum was used to stage gladiator fights, mass competitions, animal hunts, battles between prisoners and animals, prisoner executions, mock naval battles, reenactments of famous battles, and dramas based on classical mythology. Currently, it is the most attractive tourist attraction for foreign tourists. The entry ticket per person ranges between 10 and 50 euros, but entry is free for individuals under 18 years of age and older than 65 years of age who are citizens of the European Union. In the summer of 2010, a network of underground passages was opened, which was used to transport wild animals and wrestlers into the arena, after undergoing some renovations. The Colosseum in literature and cinema. The Colosseum is considered a symbol of Western culture, and this was the reason for its appearance in many international films, songs and works of art, as many films that depicted the most prominent scenes of the final battle were treated in a way that was close to reality. It is a movie Gladiator year 2000 by New Zealand actor Russell Crowe, is his most notable and most recent acting. 1934, Sanju are the highest Colosseum, by musician Cole Porter. 1946, in a movie Anarchy in Roma directed by Luigi Zamba. Year 1948, at the beginning of the neo-realist film, or The Son of Rome, directed by Renato Castellani. 1953, in a movie Airman Holiday directed by William Wyler, starring Gregory Peck and Audrey Hepburn. 1954, in a movie Gladiatorsterdijk by Davis Delmer. 1972, in a movie Dragon Roa directed by and starring Bruce Lee. 1985, in the movie Asterix and Caesar's Surprise. 1997, in the film Double Team, directed by Tsui Hark, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme and Mickey Rourke. 1998, the Hard Rock Cafe in Orlando, Florida, is designed in the shape of the Colosseum building. Year 2000, in a movie Gladiatorsterdijk by Ridley Scott, it used computer graphics technology and was designed in the shape of the Colosseum building. 2002, the image of the Colosseum was placed on the 5-cent euro coin. 2003, in the science fiction film Lizzie McGuire, directed by John Emile, in which the Colosseum is destroyed by lightning. 2008, in a movie Earthbird, starring Hayden Christensen, in which he appears in the Colosseum during a battle scene between him and his enemies. 2010, the video game Assassination Doctrine. 2012, in a movie Madagascar 3. Origin of the name. The original Latin name for the Colosseum was the Flavian Amphitheatre in Latin. Amphitheatrum Flavium, which came to bear the same name in English. Flavian Amphitheatre. It was built by the emperors of the Flavian dynasty who succeeded Nero. The name is still used in modern English, but it has become known more generally as the Colosseum. In ancient times, the Romans referred to the Colosseum by an informal name in Latin, Amphitheatrum Caesareum, meaning the Caesarean amphitheater. However, this name had a lot of poetic background, as it was not limited only to the Colosseum. Whereas Vespasian and Titus built the Flavian Amphitheatre in Pozzuoli, the Colosseum was named after the huge bronze statue of Nero that stood next to it in the form of the sun god, and was 38 meters high. After being dragged by 12 elephants to set it up on that site, Nero's successors later shaped the statue by imitating its counterparts of Helios and Apollo. By adding the corresponding sun crown to it, Nero's head was repeatedly replaced by his successor emperors. Nero had lost his grip on power, so the Senate at that time declared Nero an enemy of the state. And instead of sentencing him to death, he committed suicide in 68, leaving behind a state of bankruptcy as a result of his extreme extravagance and chaos resulting from the many civil wars during his rule. The statue was destroyed in the 6th century by order of Pope Gregory the Great, when Rome became Christian in response to the persecution of Christians and then forcing them to wrestle with lions. He built the Arch of Triumph near at Constantine in 315 in honor of the victory of the emperor who built Constantinople, which the French imitated in the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. The Colosseum was opened in 80 AD during the reign of Emperor Titus, and the inaugural Olympic Games of the Flavian Amphitheatre were held there in the same year, on the orders of the Roman Emperor, to celebrate the completion of the construction of the Colosseum. And the amphitheatre was known as the Flavian Amphitheatre. In the 8th century, a famous epigram was attributed to Beta the Venerable to celebrate the symbolic meaning of the statue, in which it was stated that as long as the Colosseum stands, Rome will stand, and when Rome falls, the whole world will fall. When you walk around it, you feel that you were there one day, witnessing the greatness of that unique empire. And you will find that this immortal monument tells you about those who passed through it, who built it, and who were in it. The Colosseum was often referred to as the Colossus, as stated in the Poemchild Harold's Journey to Lord Byron. At the same time, Beta pointed out that the masculine name amphitheater was applied to the statue instead of what was known to the Flavian Amphitheatre. Colosseum as a symbol. The Colosseum is Rome's greatest edifice and a witness to history and legend, as it represents a symbol of one of the most powerful empires in history, against the backdrop of the monuments, legends, and narratives left by the Roman civilization, ranging from truth to mirage. The construction of the Colosseum goes back to the desire of Emperor Flavio Vespasian, on the one hand, to erase the memory of his predecessor, Emperor Nero, the arsonist of Rome. On the other hand, it symbolizes the greatness of the Roman Empire at one of its most prosperous eras. In order to emulate the great civilizations and states that were subject to the sovereignty of Rome, the word Colosseum, which has been associated with Vespasian's theater for more than 19 centuries, denotes a massive mass in size and structure. Its origin goes back to the statue of the Greek sun god Apollo. Nero, obsessed with greatness and the tyranny of Rome, wanted to imitate the god Apollo when he erected a huge statue of himself, which the Romans called the Colosseum, at the entrance to his marvelous palace. Domus Aurea means the golden house, which was destroyed by the people of Rome, out of resentment against their emperor Nero, and in retaliation for his famous act. A group of historians believe that Vespasian established his theater, which was completed by his son Titus in the year 80, over the huge artificial lake that Nero dug in front of his imaginary palace in front of his giant statue, the Colosseum, out of a desire to erase the traces of his ill-remembered predecessor. This building is famous for the complete compatibility of its decorative elements, and bears witness to the splendor of ancient Roman architectural arts, with a circumference of up to 52 meters. It is in the form of an amphitheater and a semicircular theater that has been in place for 2,000 years. This architectural edifice came as a symbol of the most important symbols of Roman civilization, which devoured symbols that preceded Roman civilization. In this video, we will explore the Colosseum. It will be an exciting journey into the history of this famous landmark. We will cover the following points: building history. We will learn about the construction history of the Colosseum and how it was used in the past. Colosseum as a symbol. We will explore the role of the Colosseum as an important cultural and historical symbol and its impact on global culture. Building description. We will delve into the architectural and engineering details of the Colosseum, including its exterior structure and interior section. External section. We will explore the prominent features and important details of the exterior section of the Colosseum. Internal section. We will discover the fascinating interior spaces and stunning architectural details within the Colosseum. The Colosseum in literature and cinema. We will take a look at the influence of the Colosseum in famous literary works and films. Origin of the name. We will learn about the origin of the name Colosseum and its meaning in the ancient language. Colosseum as a symbol. We will explore the symbolic significance of the Colosseum and its role as a historical and cultural symbol. Join us on this exciting journey and enjoy uncovering the secrets of this magnificent historical landmark. Don't miss this opportunity to explore the Colosseum like never before.